Shema Yisrael.
So God is here. Matsui means exist all the time. But not enough that He exists. He can be exist, but I went to sleep. I'm tired. I made the world. I'm tired of how people behave. So what's the big deal? I let the world do whatever they want. I have no more interest. God forbid. You cannot keep the world even 1 minute, even if one tiny transaction disappeared from the eyes of God. 1 second, somebody punched another person. That transaction he did not see, it's already affecting the entire world. If you know what I'm talking about, in science it's called the butterfly effect. The butterfly moves its wings in America, it goes all the way to China. It's affecting the whole world, what it does in the air, things, how everything affects everything. It's amazing. So therefore, there's not one transaction in the world that is an individual transaction. Every transaction creates a chain reaction, which is eternal. It never stops. We are today seeing the results of somebody 5,000 years ago who did something. It continued to affect the world until it got to this minute. So there's no way to miss one transaction in a creation because it will mess up everything. There's no way. So God not only exists, second, umashgiach, He supervised everything. How the leaf would fall from the tree. If the leaf falls to the left or it falls to the right, it's also His decision. Why it's important? Anyway, all million leaves will fall eventually in a day or two when the season comes, and the floor will be full of leaves. So what do we care if the first leaf fell over here or it fell over here? Anyway, thousands will fall in an hour. Does it make a difference in a creation? Of course. Why? The first one that fell, and then a wind came, and it made it move 10 feet to the right. And then someone came with his horse in a carriage, and it was a little bit wet, and the leaf got stuck to the wheel, to the wood wheel, and he went 2 miles, and after 2 miles, the leaf fell on the floor, and a hungry bird just walked by and ate that leaf, or took some of it to the babies, and thanks to that, the babies didn't die. And a month later, this baby became a big bird, and he went to a very big rabbi, and he ate it, and a holiday. Everything is supervised. It's not one thing. You have a Chinese landlord. You didn't pay him the rent this month. What's the big deal? I'll pay you next month, relax. Because you didn't pay him, he owed money to the Chinese mafia. The Chinese mafia kidnapped his son in China. Because of that, they did all kinds of things. It affected the whole world. In the end, people dying from a check you didn't give here in New York. You don't see it. You stole something from someone. You made him bankrupt. He declared bankruptcy. His wife left him. The children went to crime. One of them became Adolf Hitler. Started to kill millions of people. You don't see the connection to you stealing money from Mr. X and to the fact that there is an Adolf Hitler killing 30 million people in the world. You don't know it's your fault. But you will find out when you stand in front of God. So you understand what does it mean, supervision? Every little detail is supervised. Next thing, the second paragraph is there is only one God. Why do you need to even say such a thing? Because if you want to build a building, does it have to be that there's only one builder? 5 different builders can join together and build a building. And they're all good. Why do you need to know there's only one God? Why not to agree that there's more than one, like the Greeks used to believe? The God of love, the God of this, the God of water, the God of... What's the problem of believing in many gods? The answer is, later when we're going to get to the next paragraph, which means God is completely perfect, not 99% perfect, completely perfect, 100% perfect, and has no limitation. If there was another God, it makes our God limited. if there's another superpower who can do whatever he wants, that makes an effect on the first God that is a superpower that can do whatever he wants. Now there are two controllers, two governors. One wants to build a road, one wants to destroy the road. How are you going to do it? You're going to go into a war every minute? What's going to be, what's not going to be? Besides the point that the Torah say many, many times, I'm the only God, there was no one before me, and there will never be one after me, always speaking about the fact that he's the one and only one, and no one is having any permission to even to think there's more than one God, it's a sin. Even to think there is one more God, just to think it without daring to say it, it's already a violation of the Torah. Just to think about it. That's not a good idea to make the ring of the phone like that. You don't want the whole world to know who's calling you. So now, the next thing, the third one is, it doesn't have any material body. He's not materialistic, he's not made from any material, and he doesn't have any image. What does it mean? If he doesn't have material, isn't it obvious that he doesn't have an image? Only materialistic things have an image. The answer is not necessarily. A person can see an image and it's no material in it. When we close the eyes, I see my mother right now. Is she material right now here? I just saw her, I saw her hair, I saw everything. It's something spiritual. Doesn't have to be a physical image. It could be a spiritual image. You may come and say, okay, we all understand that if God doesn't have material in him, then obviously he doesn't have a materialistic image. But he has a spiritual image, such as light, such as letters, such as anything you can imagine. You can imagine something. It's a very big sin to imagine God in any way, in color, in letters, in light, in all these terms that people like to use. It's already a violation of the law. Why? Imagining him in one shape and one image automatically makes him limited. You understand why or no? So that's already a problem. So he has no material in him and doesn't have any image. And the next one, the fourth one, that he's kadmon lekol akdumim, is the first before anything else was in existence. Does that mean that he had a beginning and he will have an end? You know, the scientists, they argue for hundreds of years if the world had a beginning or not. The major scientists in the history were claiming that the world was always here. Always here. There's no beginning to the world. Billions, trillions of years, always was here. The other scientists say, doesn't make sense. It had to be created. And something that was created had a beginning. And today, the mystery was resolved. What was the final verdict? That the world had a beginning. I'm talking science. According to Torah, we know exactly when was the beginning and how was the beginning. We're now talking about how the scientists proved that the world had a beginning. How? The universe expands all the time. Expands. It can prove to you that it's expanding. That means if you press rewind on a video, something that expands in a video, expands all the time, in the same rate or even in a different rate. If you press rewind, what happened? It shrinks. It shrink until there's only one dot. There's no more to shrink, that's it. It had to be a beginning point. Do you understand what I'm saying here? So the scientists, based on the proof that they already know for sure today that the universe expands, they already came to the conclusion that it started from one concentrated point that expanded to a larger one. We know according to the Torah exactly how the beginning was, as I said. Then the next thing, that one of the principles of Judaism, this is the fifth one, there's no permission to worship anyone or anything but him. Anyone or anything but him. Why do I say anyone or anything? Anyone, it's what we call people or gods, if there are gods. That's called anyone. What does it mean, anything? What does it mean, anything? A cow. In India, they worship the cow. Did you see what's happening in India when the cow crossed the street? You're talking about 405 in LA, traffic? It was 5 a.m. one time on a 405, bumper to bumper. I'm on my way to catch a flight. I look at my watch at 5 a.m. I've never seen in the world a place that at 5 a.m. you have bumper to bumper. 6:30, 7, fine. 5 a.m.? What people, they leave 5 a.m. to go to work. I say to myself, I'm going to miss a flight at 7 a.m. because it's bumper to bumper. Who would believe such thing? I expected to be in the airport in 15 minutes. It took almost 45 minutes. But over here, so in India, if the cow crosses the street, that's it. They cannot move it, they cannot push it, they give it very big respect. It's funny, I have a Gentile Indian guy. He writes me a lot of emails. He's already ready to come to convert. He already knows Torah, with no offense, more than almost everybody here in the room. You have to see how he talks. He talks like a Bachur Yeshiva already. And he learns everything online, because in India there's no place to learn. Everything online. Listens to me every day, daily. He's a very smart kid. He's going to come here to Wall Street or to university. He's very educated and clever, very clever. So I sometimes speak about the idol worshippers, and he always like to confirm what's happening there in India. So he tells me, you have to see what's going on. Sometimes he sends me picture, the things that they do with the cow, with the flowers, you don't know if to laugh or to cry. How people get to such a level that they worship. In India, if the cow makes the bathroom, excuse me from your honor, they fight who is going to grab it and spill it in his home. They believe it brings good luck to their house. All kinds of strange things. So that's called to worship something else besides God. The Buddhists that worship Buddha, that's also an idol worshipping. The Christians that worship a Jew named JC, that's also the same thing. They violate the principles of God. A clever Christian in the beginning, if he would detect that, he would never allow Christianity to begin. The whole concept that God has a son and he has a divine power, it's contradicting the 10 commandments and the 13 principles. For a clever human being would know God would never contradict himself in one of his foundations in life. If you want to suspect God that he's human and he makes errors, that's your stupidity. But at least we understand where it comes from. But to come to the owner of the company who wrote on the wall the 13 principles of this company, the code of clothing, times of working, days of payment, the 13 most major things in the company that without it the company cannot run. And a minute later to go and do the total opposite, how can it be? It doesn't make sense. So there's en avodah lezulato. For instance, sometimes people believe in good luck. They put something in their shoes, special necklace. This is also falling into this category. Believing that this item will bring me good luck. Believing that if I put this idol or statue or anything like that in my house, it's going to bring me good luck. If it's a special blessing from the Torah, you're not worshiping that. You're actually following the Torah of God. It's no problem. It's verses from God's book. Of course it brings blessing. The more you read it, the better it is. The more you look at the letters, the better it is. It's a divine document. But anything else but that, like a green stone from the Dead Sea. Why is this? Why the stone is over here? We believe it brings good energy to the house, Rabbi. Nonsense. It's all avodah zarah, idol worshipping. One time I went to a house, and we talked over there, and the guy owns the house. He was talking about his father, and then after this argument, he said, here he is. He tells me, here he is. But the conversation, he said that his father died a few years ago. So he pointed at the shelf, he said, here it is. Here he is. I look, I thought maybe his picture, but I don't see any picture. So I see a little jar, and he said, if you open the lid, that's my father's ashes inside. So I said, why are you keeping it in the house? I want the presence of my father to be here. He always was a successful person, and that, so we believe it brings us good luck. This is idol worshipping. Idol doesn't have to be the typical statue, like in the old days, in the time of the Torah, that they used to make big, huge, giant idols. You know, in India, they have temples. They invested so many millions of dollars in gold and all kinds of silver and marble, and they make these huge images of all kinds of gods that they invented from their imagination, and they made the entrance to their temple very, 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 very low. You may think maybe it's a temple for kids, but everyone there is adult. Why they made it so low? That when you want to walk in, automatically you have to bend down. You walk in, by the time you rise, you already bow down to their idol. So now Israelis, they were going to India on tourism. So what the Israeli did, what Israeli secular guy would like to bow down to an Indian idol? With all due respect that he's not religious, you put a gun to his head and tell him to bow down to the idol, he won't agree. So the Israelis all enter in reverse. That's why they're not getting visas anymore. So the next one, that God knows the thoughts of every human being all the time, anytime, anywhere, with no limitations. Everything that crosses your mind. Should I go? Should I not go? Should I raise my hand? Should I go to eat? Should I go to sleep? Everything runs through your mind. Should I steal? Should I help? Should I give tzedakah? I cannot read your mind. I can see your body language. I can see more or less what you're thinking, what you're happy, you're not happy. That's it. But it's not a scientific knowledge. But imagine if I was able to read everything across your mind. Everything. Like everything that's just passed through your mind, I have like a little Bluetooth, you know, and it's whispering, this girl with the black hair, she's thinking this and this and that. This one thinking this guy think this guy, you know everything about people. It would be very hard to live like that. Because some people think everyone admire me, everyone love me, and all of a sudden they get the shock of their life, what people really think about it, you know. So it says that God, and only God, by the way, the angels, which is also a very high spiritual creation, they do not know the thoughts of people, the angels. But God is the only one who reads your mind. But again, He reads your mind even if you have a debate in your mind. Should I go? Should I not go? Yes, no, yes. Sometimes people want to give charity. So before they click the send, they change the amount 10 times. They put 1,000, too much. Let's take a zero off. 100, too little. Let's compromise. 500. Why am I so stingy? Okay, let's go back to 1,000. All day, up, down, up, down. In the end, whatever he sent, he sent. But sometimes it doesn't really happen like that. It's all quickly run through the mind of a person. He has 20 seconds to decide. A rabbi knock on his door. Excuse me, Mr. Jew, we're collecting for a sick person and he's in a hospital. This is the person. It would be very nice if you participate in the attempt to save his life. So the Jew, while he's talking, he doesn't listen to him anymore. After the first 5 seconds, he got the point. He's now thinking only about one thing. How much should I give him? 20, 50, 100, 500? Runs quickly to his mind. The only one who knows what goes through his mind is Hashem. That's why it's very interesting, because usually when a person makes a vow in his mind, it's not a vow. Only when he say it, because the Torah says clearly, Motza Sfatav, what came out of his lips. With one exception to the rule. If it's a vow for charity, you say, I'm giving this rabbi such and such money, and then in your mind, you never declare it. It just runs through your mind. And then you change your mind and you want to give half, you are actually binded to the first amount. That's only if you agreed first. If you're just debating how much to give, that's not a vow. But if you already made a decision, now, okay, I'm giving $1,000. And an hour later, the evil inclination began to pinch you. Hey, too much, wake up, what's going on with you? Don't be a fool. But you already got in your mind that you're giving this amount, you must give that amount. If you give less, you hold guilty as making a vow and not fulfilling it, which has serious consequences in the life of a person. But anything else, you're making your mind, tomorrow I'm going to help my friend Isaac to move his furniture to the new apartment. I'm going to volunteer, I'll help him out. And then an hour later you change your mind. If you promised him, say, Isaac, I'm coming tomorrow at 2 o'clock, you can count on me, I'm coming to help you, that's a different story already. That's it, you bind it to what you promised. But as long as it just crossed your mind, you don't want to go in the end, fine, you don't have to go. But if it's charity, you are already obligated to give. So the only one who knows it, it's only God. No one knows that you committed in your mind. It's the only one who knows how to judge you for that.